Hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Please subscribe, join the Patreon, follow her back on Instagram and Twitter. Hit the thumbs up, it recommend the channel to more people. And thank you, Shayna, for your message. How you all doing? Yes, smash the like, everyone. It is free, indeed. It is free, as well as the subscription button. Hello. So what did we have this week? Of course, every week is a busy week, but this week I feel is more relaxed than the week before because today we can actually focus on the whole week and there is nothing burning currently to report on. So what did we have this week? Brazil banned X, and the Brazilian court upheld this decision. We have churches burning around across the Western world and specifically in Europe. Netanyahu had this marvelous speech about the importance of the Philadelphia crossing, which caused Biden to be in a sort of a conundrum, understanding that it's kind of hard to pretend there is any sort of a deal agreement that can be upheld with Hamas. Assisi took it personally, and in Egypt there is a lot of rage for the accusations that they are not doing their part. And of course they are not doing their part, but that doesn't bother them from being personally insulted by those accusations that are true, but still, who cares about reality? Cares about feelings today. Feelings are more important than truth in this day and age. So that just goes this way. Of course, Israel is trying to pressure the United States to pressure Egypt. Would it work? We'll see. We have several spies that were caught in the Democratic Party as the real people they were serving, though, were the people of China and the Communist Party of China. Surprise, surprise. UK arms suspension for Israel, mostly as a political move, and that was got some backlash. We have an attempt to have a glorified kind of celebration of the Munich terrorist attack 52 years after the Munich massacre in the Olympics. A terrorist tried to have a memorial, like an event to celebrate the occasion, and he was shot outside the Israeli embassy in Munich. So that ended up being good. Britain is having fun. They had arrested the Iranian that famously held a plaque at the Hamas terrorist group. Scottish parents are now being sent to jail for refusing gender treatments for their children. At least the good thing is that the Labour politician that had called for the getting rid of far right people, which in my suspicion just means anyone who is blonde, is getting sentenced. And we have now a complete permission for Islamists to roam the streets as a pretense for having protests and taking over. And of course, the Labour government in the UK is doing an amazing job releasing as many rapists from jail as they can, to make sure they have room and space for those criminals who are real criminals, those who dare criticize the government and Islam. Yeah. So they are making room for these kind of people. Today we had in Israel, we had a terrorist attack where 3 were killed in the Jordanian valley. As a result, Israel is now watching their supposedly peace agreement, having neighbors celebrating the murder in the street, making you think what kind of a peace agreement is that when the people of the neighboring country are celebrating the terrorist attack that killed 3 Israelis. We have a sort of panic state in Lebanon. A lot of people are now fleeing from Lebanon to Syria. And Erdogan had called the Muslim world to come and unite against the threat that is Israel. And yeah. On the other hand, tourists are now reporting that coming to Turkey as tourists is not what it used to be. Turkey is way more expensive and just ain't worth it. The tourists are now disappearing from Turkey, which fills their overall direction into complete insanity. There are developments on the Ukrainian-Russian front. The fighting escalates. Ukraine is now getting equipped with new weapons. They have, in fact, I think more than 2 weeks ago, had invaded Russia, taken land there, and the Russia, it looks as though the fighting is escalating as well as getting more sophisticated. And Russia, in this Russian sponsorship, had sponsored several influencers in the United States and all over the world. So Lauren Chen is a great example, and they are promoting Russian interest via influencers all over. And we have the Typhoon Yagi hitting Vietnam, which had already caused 4 deaths at least and a lot of evacuations. So that's our week. That's what I've gathered. Also saw a short, quick announcement that the United States is working towards pulling out of Iraq, getting their influence out of Iraq, and that was gonna take several stages, but that is also something that is being cooked up, and I just recently saw an article about it. Yeah, yes, we have. I see what you're saying. UK is a dictatorship under Starmer and imprisoning its political dissidents 100%. Sabine, Jordan starts to suck. Jordan always sucked. Sabine, I don't know where you've been. What has their official role been in Iraq? And I think they are supposed to help with managing the country, which basically is the complete withdrawal is the complete will allow the complete annexation of Iraq to Iran. They're gonna just probably have the Iranian influence left there. It's interesting to me the Russian involvement in bribing influencers like Lauren Chen, who had started voicing out anti-Semitic views. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they want Jewish voices to run away from the right and go and feel like they're not welcome in either side of the map, and hopefully make more Jews be more afraid of the right-wing anti-Semitism and still vote for Kamala, which they seem to be railing behind. Today was an extra every day is shitty. Yesterday we had the protests again, which I've made a video about it in Hebrew. I want to address that in English as well, because Israelis do not understand how they're being portrayed when they go out and protest. But adaptive, the Jews love Kamala. Well, beautiful dress. Thank you, Per Holstein. Okay. Let's move to I have some news articles that I've gathered. Okay, so the Jews in the US love Kamala. I mean, it's demoralizing. Yeah, like I've heard of several of them, Jews that love Kamala. I don't have anything nice to say about it, so I better not say anything. So we have Brazil court. Okay, top Brazil court upholds ban of Musk's X. Brazil's Supreme Court has upheld a ban on social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. The judges voted unanimously in favor of this measure, meaning the ban will stay in place. X has been suspended in Brazil since the early hours of Saturday after it failed to appoint new legal representative in the country before the court imposed deadline. Fun stuff. No Jews hate Kamal Harris. Tenebre. I hope so. Yeah, it's a real joke. Oh yeah, we have 1 killed and 5 injured in New York's diversity chaos, but I guess diversity now comes. Hello, Tag Mechir Tzedek. Diversity obviously comes now with chaos and stabbing. This is just a given. Where should? Yeah. Let's just go through a little bit of the things that will happen.
Hello everybody, welcome to Tusi TV. I'm Maya Tusi and this is your latest geopolitical news. We're going to go to New York City. Yet another dark day in Manhattan and of course the areas around it where diversity, according to the liberal media and the liberal establishment, continues to be our strength. Criticizing crime going up is a taboo.
Well, fascinating. I actually I look at churches burned down across Europe, and obviously if I show that image, it's gonna show fire, and fire means demonetization. So I'm gonna make, but I want to. This is.
It seems that
Democrats just love Chinese spies. Yeah, that's beautiful. What is going on with Israel's not in support of Sinwar? They don't support Sinwar. It's complete lie. I mean, they're being idiots. They're being complete idiots. But what they're trying to show is how much they support the hostage families. It's not like they're supporting Sinwar. They have a delusion, right? They suffering from delusion that if we have a deal now, we'll go back. We'll go through the deal, we'll get the hostage back, and then get back to Gaza immediately and reconquer whatever we have to reconquer. They truly believe it. They don't understand the concept of global pressure that won't allow Israel to return to Philadelphia crossing and things like that. But the vast majority of them truly believe that the right thing to do is to withdraw now, get the hostages back whatever way, like without whatever way, some. I talked to many of them. They want some of them want complete siege on Gaza. Some of them, like whatever it takes, they want the hostages back, and a lot of it is for that. Some of them are like bad actors, I'm sure of it, but the vast majority, like, they believe that this is the way they can show support for the hostage families. And they want the government to do whatever it takes, whether it's like, complete bombardment, to siege, to withdrawal, to whatever it takes to get the hostages out. And a lot of them truly believe that after we get the hostages out, this is when we can go back and operate in Gaza. Which, to me, every time when I talk to them, you guys do not understand the situation. There is no guarantee we'll be able to go back. But they are very overly confident. So let me say that, considering that those who I spoke with who participated had called for a complete starvation of the Gazans in order to get the hostages back, the way they are being portrayed in foreign media is, misinformation if we're being nice, and disinformation if we're being real, and disinformation with a malice behind it is probably the more true way to describe it.
Democrats are having a serious problem staying away from Chinese spies. First, it was Dianne Feinstein, the former senator from California. She had a very high-ranking Chinese spy in her office. And then it turns out, of course, that Eric Swalwell was having with the Chinese spy named Fang Fang. You remember that one. And now it turns out that a top aide to New York's governor was an agent for the Chinese Communist Party. According to the Department of Justice, earlier today in federal court in Brooklyn, an indictment was unsealed charging Linda Sun with violating and conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, visa fraud, alien smuggling, and money laundering conspiracy. Sun is alleged to have acted on behalf of the CCP. Sun's husband and co-defendant, Chris Hu, was also charged with money laundering conspiracy, as well as conspiracy to commit bank fraud. So apparently, she was the deputy chief of staff within the New York State Executive Chamber. Both she and her husband worked to further the interests of the Chinese government and the CCP. The illicit scheme enriched the defendant's family to the tune of millions of dollars. Sun is alleged to be an undisclosed agent of the PRC and the CCP, using Chinese money and her influence within the state of New York to benefit the Chinese government. Sun and her husband then laundered millions of dollars for the foreign country and used the monetary benefits of the scheme to buy luxury vehicles and million-dollar properties in New York, which is the way a good communist works, right? I mean, the good communists, they get dashas, they get really nice stuff. Apparently, she worked on significant speeches for Kathy Hochul. She blocked representatives of the Taiwanese government from having access.
Anyway, because of things like that, Israelis don't understand that they are living in a hardcore delusion if they think they can go about the way they think they can go about. Yeah, Mike, I was told by my family during Oslo that should anything go wrong, Israel can retake everything in a day. Exactly, this is how they think. Like, this is how delusional they are. So they really believe that you can get the hostages back no matter what the price is, and then the next day we're gonna get Gaza again and reconquer everything in a day and put a siege on them and starve them, and everything's gonna be okay. Like, it's tiring. It's tiring. But this is what they think. So saying that they feel even slightly sorry for the Palestinians would maybe represent 1% of those who went out and demonstrated. Yeah. I want to skip ahead.
About how some of the criminals who are going to be released are actually.
I feel like he talks too much, to be honest, but... So, yeah, Starmer releases rapists to jail British patriots.
Actually not necessarily have done petty crime or anything soft. We now have a whistleblower from a number of prisons. We've got a couple of actually whistleblowers from a couple of prisons in the north of England who've come out to expose what they know about these plans and the loopholes that will be used by some of the most serious criminals and their lawyers, and how this government and this Prime Minister has been lying to every single one of you. This is about the fact that Keir Starmer came out to reassure people that don't worry guys, these are just going to be soft criminals, right? Then we had Shabana Mahmood, who is the new Justice Secretary also coming out to say we are going to go ahead with this plan regardless of the criticism, but we're going to reassure people everything's going to be fine. Just as a reminder of what the government told us before and what is actually happening now, let's listen to both the Prime Minister and the new Justice Secretary.
Obviously, we've put in place a framework to ensure that we don't release those who create the greatest risk.
There will be exclusions. Sentences for sexual and serious violent offences will remain at 50%.
Interesting, right? Absolutely fascinating stuff that they were so confident about what they wanted to do, what the politicians said should be done, whether they lied to us.
By the way, speaking of which, so the same friend that I was talking to that explained to me, I already know how leftists think. And I try to explain to other Westerns how leftists think, because it's sometimes amazing, like how large the gap between Israeli thinking and people who try to understand Israeli politics. The gap is so enormous that it really makes me roll my eyes a lot. But the thing is that this friend, that one of them, right? I talked to several, so I could give you the best understanding of what's going on. He grew up in London, and he actually I asked him, what do you think about what's going on in Britain? He's like, Britain had fallen 100%. Like, he agrees with that. It was like Britain had fallen. And he said, like, but to be honest, as a Jew growing up in London, he said that people would throw eggs at him because he was Jewish in London when he was growing up. So I guess that was entrenched in the English society. And now we are seeing.
So the British Labour government just announced, under Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Foreign Secretary David Lammy, that they're going to be suspending some arms sales to Israel. It was announced the day that Israel and the Jewish people were laying to rest the 6 hostages that Hamas murdered. It just beggars belief that they have made this decision. But on the other hand, it's not really surprising, given that Starmer and Lammy, just a few years ago, were campaigning to get chief anti-Semite Jeremy Corbyn into Downing Street as Prime Minister. The chief rabbi referred to it as just shocking. I think he said it was just really outrageous, shameful. The Israeli government said similar. And I want to read to you the words of journalist and author Melanie Phillips. A friend sent to me her words, because I think she sheds a lot of important light and moral clarity on this terrible decision, really, for Britain more than anyone else, who I know gain a lot from Israeli intelligence. So, almost at the very moment yesterday that Hersh Goldberg Polin, one of the 6 Israeli hostages murdered by Hamas last week, was being buried in a deeply traumatized and anguished Israel, the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy announced a partial arms embargo against the Jewish state. The day after the IDF had discovered in a Gaza tunnel the bodies of the 6 hostages, all of whom had been shot in the back of the head at close range by Hamas, Lammy told the Commons that Britain was suspending 30 out of 350 arms export licenses to Israel, including components for military aircraft, helicopters, and drones. He told MPs that a 2-month...
I don't like... It's to me, it bothers me. I'll tell you something. It bothers me the way Jews and Israelis tell the news. Because the honest thing to be is, like, we can see that as part of the British fall to Islamism, they had suspended arms to Israel, which falls under their overall overarching, the number one victim of their awful policies are their own people. They are being the British women are now not safe because rapists, that's a minor crime compared to those who dare to criticize Islam. Everything is effed up in Britain, and yet whenever things like that are being discussed in Israeli or Jewish media, the whole understanding of the source of the trouble of, hey, UK had succumbed to Islam and radicalism and they are now oppressing their own people, is like, oh, but on the day of hostages being shot in the head, they had decided to do that. Of course, because it fits the agenda of Islam. Of course they do it. Like, it's time for us to be like, oh, why aren't they acting morally? It's because they are immoral. They are immoral. Like, the heck. Seriously. By the way, this is a video showing the tunnel where the bodies were found at, and it's next to, of course, it has to be with the hidden in a children's playground.
בדקות האלה תיעוד חדש מהמנהרה בה נמצאו גופות 6 החטופים שנרצחו בשבי.
נכון, אז בעצם בפתח הפיר הזה ניתן לראות שם ציורי קיר של מיקי מאוס של...
See, this is where they had the tunnel where the bodies of the hostages were located, next to Mickey Mouse and Snow White.
פלגייה על מנת לנסות להטעות את הלוחמים שלנו, וכמובן במאבק הלגיטימציה העולמית להראות לכאורה שפגענו באיזה גן ילדים או בחצר משחקים, אבל עיניכם מראות ליד הדובי פתח המנהרה שבה נרצחו 6 מחטופינו, וייתכן מאוד שהוחזקו עוד חטופים נוספים. במהלך המבצע הזה יחידת יהלום פעלה והצליחה...
Like, this is where they hid them. There is nothing moral, and they're now working in full cooperation with the Brits because Britain had fallen. And I have to tell you that I heard rumors from behind the scenes that the British diplomats are rotten and evil to the core. It's not only that they turn the other way and do it for votes. They actively protect terrorists. They actively cooperate and protect terrorists. Yep, this is, take it how you will. Oh, here, this is...
Richard, we're all aware that Iran, of course, is stirring up trouble in the region.
Yeah, I want Egypt playing double game in Israel-Hamas conflict. I saw that they have those as well as English. And...
But I want to ask you about Turkey, because overnight the president of Turkey has met with the leader of Egypt, and he has said there needs to be an alliance of Islamic nations against Israel to stop what he calls Israeli expansion. Can you believe it? Can you talk to me about Turkey's involvement in this? Is this just hot air, or is this a serious...
Yeah, Erdogan claimed that Israel plans to invade Turkey as well.
Serious threat from Turkey?
I think there's a great deal of hot air has come out of Turkey since this conflict began. And you know, even beforehand, Turkey was talking about Jerusalem belongs to us. We you know, it's Turkish territory. And of course, it was at one point the Ottoman Empire did control this entire territory, but that was in the distant past. So I think my view is that this is more than anything else is hot air. I don't think there's a real threat from Turkey against Israel. Obviously, there is diplomatic. But of course, Turkey is a member of NATO. And for Turkey to do anything aggressive against Israel would be met with, you know, considerable, I think, displeasure from the United States. As for Egypt's been playing a double game. Egypt facilitated the arming of Hamas. It allowed Hamas to bring weapons, munitions, and
I agree with that statement. Egypt is working on U.S. instructions. No way they can defy that. Same with Qatar. If the United States has their greatest base inside of Qatar, I don't think Qatar can do something without the approval of the United States. Whether it's by bribe, you know, just by taking advantage of the rots and like the bribery system in the United States, or whether it's by people that actually align themselves with the Qatari and the Egyptian and the Islamic mindset. I don't think that there is a way that the United States is not cooperating with that.
And equipment to turn Gaza into the fortification it is today. Sometimes maybe by playing a blind eye, sometimes by openly allowing stuff through, but nevertheless, it was really because of Egypt's position that Hamas developed as it did, supplied by Iran but allowed through by Egypt. And
there were a lot of American weapons as well that went through.
And the IDF have destroyed, I think, my figures may not be 100% correct, but I think they've identified and destroyed around 200 tunnels crossing the border between Gaza and Egypt. I was in one of them myself a few days back inside Gaza, a tunnel that you could easily drive at least two vehicles side by side through that tunnel. And that was just one of a huge number of tunnels that have been dug by Hamas to get munitions, and not just munitions, but other equipment through the border there. And Egypt's been allowing it. And at the same time, Egypt has closed its border to refugees. There are a lot of people from Gaza who could have escaped the war through the Egyptian border, as really is required under international treaty by Egypt, and Egypt's just simply refused to do so. It's one of the few times I'm aware of in history that a neighbouring country that it's at peace has completely closed off its border to refugees from a country that's at war where they're in danger.
Richard, I just wanted to ask you very quickly before we let you go, just to go back to the United States. You know, we had the horrible incident of those 6 hostages being shot under Rafah the other day. Rafah, of course, was where the Biden administration and Kamala Harris said, do not go in there, leave Rafah alone. And now we have Tim Walz, who could very well be the next vice president, saying that protesters who are protesting anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, are protesting for all the right reasons. Have a listen to this here.
I think we're at a critical point right now. We need the Netanyahu government to start moving in that direction. But I think those folks who are speaking out loudly in Michigan are speaking out for all the right reasons. It's a humanitarian crisis.
Richard, with the presidential election in the U.S. basically being probably a 50-50 toss-up at this point, how much trepidation is there in Israel about the prospect of a Harris-Walz administration and what they might do in terms of reorienting even further away from Israel?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the Biden administration has been, in many ways, a mixed blessing for Israel. They have provided a great deal of support for Israel. And they've deployed a large number of assets here, and they help defend Israel. I'm talking about aircraft carrier strike groups, as well as numerous other naval and air assets. And they help defend Israel against the Iranian attack on the 14th of April. So Israel, the US has been quite strong. But on the other hand, they have been overcritical. And I think every time we've seen comments from the US which suggested a division between Israel and the United States, that's what Hamas capitalizes on. That encourages Hamas to keep fighting. And Hamas, they clearly want to see not just the US, but other countries in the world, like Australia, bringing down pressure on Israel to stop the war. And it's, you mentioned the Kamala or the US perspective on Rafah, trying to say this is an impossible operation, which would prove totally wrong by Israel. It's that kind of pressure and that kind of international message which encourages Hamas. And I think it's really important that if we get a Harris administration, that she doesn't continue to do that. And I think the Israelis, most of the Israelis that I speak to, are very concerned about the prospect of another administration like the Biden administration. And I think above all, they would like to see Trump in the White House, who, whatever anyone thinks of Trump, as far as Israel is concerned, I think he would be, many people over here believe, he would be the best president for Israel and would give them far greater support than they've had up until now.
Absolutely.
Michael Feldman, overcritical. Biden has been doing everything it can to save Hamas as 100%. I want to show you guys the way that our beautiful neighbors that in Jordan celebrated the terrorist attack in the Allenby crossing.
10 בבוקר, גשר אלנבי, מעבר הגבול בין ירדן לישראל. נהג משאית מירדן הגיע למסוף המטענים של מעבר הגבול. לפני שעבר בידוק ביטחוני הוא ירד מהמשאית, שלף אקדח שהסתיר בתוכה ופתח בירי לעבר עובדי המסוף. למרבה הצער הוא רצח 3 מהם.
שלום, מדבר ליום ממגן דוד אדום. קראו לנו בפנים אנוש, אנחנו בהחייאה. אתם במעבר אלנבי ליד יריחו?
Yeah, this is the description on how the attack went down.
כן, כן.
So he came with a truck, went out of the truck and started shooting.
3 פצועים אנוש. שלושתם בהחייאה? כן, כן, 3 בהחייאה מלאה, כולם פצועים אנוש מאוד.
במקום גילינו זירה קשה מאוד.
שהיו במקום נטרלו את המחבל וחיסלו אותו. המחבל שביצע את הפיגוע הוא מאהר
This is the terrorist.
אל-ג'אזי, בן 39, מהכפר אדרח, בדרום ירדן.
From Jordan. From South Jordan.
אני לא חשבתי שהייתי ברגע הראשון שהייתי בו, שזה קורה כאילו שיש פיגוע בפנים. לא חשבתי שכאילו בן אדם יכניס נשק לתוך המעבר בפנים.
כוחות צה"ל הגיעו למרחב וערכו סריקות כדי לשלול פיגועים נוספים. ראש הממשלה בנימין נתניהו התייחס לפיגוע בחקירה של האירוע.
Here, the Jordanian king the Jordanian king has agreements with Israel, but his populace they want Hamas.
ישראל, אבל הציבור שלו רוצה חמאס.
All of Jordan are Hamas.
מתחילת המלחמה, בערים הגדולות בירדן יש הפגנות תמיכה אדירות בחמאס ומסע הסתה גדול נגד ישראל.
Sinwar, we swear to you. Sinwar, we swear to you.
לאחר הפיגוע רבים שמחו בירדן, והיו מי שחילקו בקלאות. בערבית נכתב כאן, ממתקים לכבוד הפעולה ההירואית.
So this is, they went around and those are sweets that they were handing the people. And it's like sweets for the heroic action that was like for the terrorist attack. Heroic action in the Allenby crossing.
במעבר אלנבי. גם הפלסטינים ביהודה ושומרון חגגו.
And also at Judea and Samaria, they also had celebrated the terrorist attack, handing sweets. All of Jordan is Hamas. The Jordan people is that much in favor of Hamas. Yeah, yeah. Jordan will inevitably follow, just a matter of time. Yeah, they're geographically. It doesn't make sense that country is fakest. Like the fakest country in the world is Jordan. Like not even Jordanians know what they're supposed to be. They don't have history. They don't have anything. They're just Arabs and a territory, and then the Hashemite kingdom got a territory that was not claimed. That's it. Like that's all who they are. So I think that's it for today. This is a quick rundown of what was happening this week. For hopefully next week we're gonna have some more news that are good. Amen. Jordan was meant to be Israel. Yes, they have been. I want to do sometime this week. I want to do a Discord discussion. So please leave me down in the comments down below. Just write what would you want the themes of the discussion to be, and I'd love to do that sometime during this week. I didn't schedule it yet, but I'm gonna do it once you guys have written suggestions for what we should talk about on Discord, and I want to talk to you guys and hear from you. And I think that's it for today. Thank you all for being here, and see you next time. And by the way, follow, like, comment, subscribe, share your favorite videos. join the Patreon, support me on Buy Me Coffee. By the way, if you're joining Patreon, do not pay via Apple Pay. They steal it. They steal the money. So don't Apple Pay in Patreon. Nope, don't do it. But if you want to support me on Buy Me Coffee or on Patreon, that really, really helps upholding this channel. And thank you. And I'm working on really cool videos that I've been cooking up for a long, long time. So I'm going to focus on that as well. All right. See you all later.